In fact, I started yoga back in 2004 while I was still in the film industry. I was still working at the time as an emerging filmmaker in New York City. And I was going through tremendous stress, both from my personal and professional life. I even had seizures, like literal seizures in my body because I was so stressed out. And actually, it was a filmmaking colleague who recommended I start taking yoga classes. And I did. And I remember sitting down in those classes and really looking forward to the chanting more than anything. I mean, in the beginning, like the physical stuff was so boring to me. I'd look at the clock and be like, can't we be done yet? Why aren't we done yet? You know, gradually that changed. But the chanting was immediately accessible, and it also would make me cry. And I'd just sit down there, make it to this, yoga class in busy New York City and start crying and just crying and chanting, Om Namah Shivaya. Or whatever we were chanting at the time, is because it helped me tap into the complexity and depth of emotions that I was going through on any given day in New York City, but especially at this time in my life that was really challenging. So I wanted to learn more about the music. I was very intrigued and started taking lessons in New York City with a vocal teacher, and his nephew was a tabla player. And so I would go to vocal classes with Uncle G, and then I would hear the tabla, and I was like, that's such a cool instrument. I've never heard anything like that. I think I want to learn tabla. So I started taking tabla lessons, really practiced quite a lot, and met a bunch of other young Westerners who were studying with a great maestro from Kolkata who would come to Brooklyn every year. And I started meeting up with them regularly. It really was like being plugged into this very cultural, spiritual community through which art is spirituality. Music is yoga. That was kind of the impression that I was getting and that I was really drawn to. And as I got more into the music, I kind of let the physical asana practice kind of become very secondary. And so I started being introduced to these different instruments and these different musicians, and felt like, wow, I can't believe I just spent 4 years in one of the most prestigious art schools in the United States of America and never once heard the word raga or tala. How is it possible that I was never exposed to these ideas of Indian classical music before? And I've been studying the arts pretty intensely as a college graduate. So it fascinated me that I was so ignorant, and I wanted to become more knowledgeable. I ended up producing, directing, shooting a documentary about one of the all-night concerts of Indian classical music that we had in New York City, where I interviewed the artists. I filmed, the whole evening, and it was so magical. And I was very happy with the final result that I got ambitious and I got confident that, I could do something bigger here. I think I want to go to India and go and attend the classical concerts in India and see who I can interview in India. I didn't know many people, but I knew a few who, through my work in film and Indo-American media, were able to help me connect with the right people to put me in the right place at the right time. And I went to these all-night classical concerts in India, and I met so many amazing artists, and I was gifted this exclusive time to interview them. I mean, it was I'm just like a, young emerging filmmaker from New York City. I don't know that much about music, but I absolutely love what I'm learning. And can I ask you a few questions? And I think your music's amazing. And I just feel like I was graced by these artists to be given so many opportunities to talk with them one-on-one and ask them questions. Sometimes I think about it as being someone who's not that good at math, talking to an astrophysicist and actually having a meaningful conversation. I'm on a whole nother level of musical, capability than you, but I really appreciate what you're doing and I'd love to understand it better.